Hello, hello, good morning, happy Sunday. Hello, Lumicode. It's been a while. How are you doing? Got all those notifications taken care of, and I think we're ready to go. I've been doing good. It's finished a lot of the sort of like the personal other sort of like critical timing things. So don't have any more sort of like crunchiness that I need to do just like in my outside of work life, which is nice. And then also during my day job, we did a sort of like a secondary planning to like just like determine are we really on track for our projects, and it turns out we're ahead of track. So that's also really nice. I need to start Steam. Where are you gonna launch? This window, okay. Where are you? You are to here. All right, we are still in Spawn and Swamp. And we were still losing to these people. So, I did think of some strategies. I want to sort of take some of the ideas that we saw from our opponents in those games and incorporate them into mine. So there's sort of like two different areas. One is getting more energy into our spawn faster, so we can get bigger creeps building faster. Also, so we don't have to wait so long to build uh, creeps to like get energy. So I really like the sort of the fire brigade style that we saw that one match. I forget which one it was, but basically, as soon as it had three creeps gaining energy, that was in charge of getting energy, it moved them over and started this sort of line across. So that's great. And then basically it was just like one creep's job was to okay, let me grab and grab a little bit of energy from here, and um, then it passed it. It transferred it to the other creep, who collected it and transferred it to the other creep, and then they just started doing that like well, like crazy. And then that was like a really fast way of getting energy in there, and it drained the containers really fast, which was really nice. Okay, so that's one thing we can do. The second thing is build gigantic attacker units. I'm thinking the Rangers, because they can fire from like 4 tiles away, and then have no movement on them whatsoever. So like they can't do anything, and then have another creep whose job is just to move really fast, and it grabs them and tows them around, and it becomes sort of like a truck with a giant gun on the back. That's kind of like the second idea for this. Any other ideas after like the only other one that I could possibly think of would be walling. We could build some ramparts around the base, and potentially put defenders on there, especially those defenders we were making um, that have no movement, and then that would potentially help and protect our base a little bit more. So all things that we could do. Um, I'm not going to focus on the ramparts today. I would rather focus. I want to see whether or not we can continue moving up the chain and maybe unlock some more fame if we if we do the gigantic, if we do those two things I mentioned earlier. So the other thing I was realizing is that I could probably store not just data on the creeps themselves, but I could probably store snippets of data or objects in the full in like the spawn, or maybe even like a global game object. I wanted to sort of see what was available for us. So I'm not gonna press play. We're gonna come here, open up Screeps, and we're in swamp mode. So perhaps I might want to create a branch for this. I have a bunch of what did I? Oh, I never committed this code. That's why. Okay. So this is last week's code. Let's commit that. Let's create a new branch for Screeps here. I want to label this one. The experiment that I want to do is like a centralized persistent state. Which is potentially going to be pretty different than the other ones. All right, so we have this run. We have all these mods and everything else. Let's say I don't worry about this too much. Let's create just a new run function here. Also, I think that if I do bang like that, I can do... what is it? It's... Or is it bang like that? Oh, I forget how to do like the allow. That's global, which would be really nice. But okay, we'll do a pub function run, which takes in ticks, which would be a U32, I think. And let's return a result. I don't think we're going to return anything. Okay, I want to allow you to run, which I think is it like this? Oh, it's square brackets. Allow dead code. If I do U at the top. Yeah, that'll be nice. Okay, so this is now run this for the entire module here. So that should be happy. Okay, now what I'm thinking about is having some kind of like state system. So if I create a just we have this game state here. Let's reuse this. So I want a obstruct state. Now, where do I want to store and put this? Or at least what do I want to put inside of this? I think I want to be able to like only update things like one at a time and not have to like constantly rebuild the game state every single frame, which is what the problem is that we have before, which is a lot of potential algorithms. But it might be cheaper for us to serialize and deserialize this out of the something every frame. So if we have do we have dependencies. We do not have Serde and Serde JSON. So let's bring that in. I guess we'll start with Serde. I can add in Serde derive, and then I want Serde JSON, and I don't need anything else like that. Okay. So I'm going to want to derive serialize game state. I need to bring that in. Okay, so now this should be able to serialize and deserialize into a string, which means I can store this. I can impl game state and maybe have like a load and restore. So if I have maybe like a save function. I don't know if I need any kind of result out of this, but I do need to take in like some object. So I'm thinking either I store this on probably not one of the creeps because they're gonna die, but the game ends as soon as the spawn dies, so I can store this on the spawn, I believe. But there might be some kind of like global game object I can put this on too. Let's put this on the spawn. So this will be a structure spawn. Come on. Oh, pub function save. Yeah, and I don't, let's see. I might want to do, I think there's a few times when I use results for this, but I can't remember if it's options or results. I think it's results. We'll figure it out, and if I need to, I'll add in that here. But okay, so for this, I want to take in this spawn, and I want to serialize our self into a string. So we can do our let serialized state equals what is it? It's Serde JSON to string and then self. Right, and that is a result. So I do need to and then this, as long as it works, I don't actually care about that, do I? Because this is going to be one of the last things we do of our turn. Okay, so that gives us the serialized state. I now want to reflect this in to the spawn. So I want to say reflect is it add? It's set. Our target is going to be the spawn. Our property key is going to be JS value from stir, and I think we're going to call this just game state. And the value is going to be this serialized state. Now, what do you return? You return this result, but that error is a JS value, which I don't think is going to work because, you know, oh, and this okay. This needs to be a JS value from stir and a reference to serialized state. There you go. Okay, and then you, I don't think you're going to be happy with us handling this. So that's if let error. And I guess I don't know if I care about that. So then here I can bail and just say error saving state to spawn. Yeah, we don't care about you. Okay, so that would be saving the state, and then we're going to have a pub function load the state. So this one isn't going to take in a self. This is just going to take in the spawn, and it's going to return a result with a self inside. Okay, so we need to reflect out, which I think gives us, let's see if I do reflect, get, right, it's going to be a string. So, reflect get, okay, so our target is going to be the spawn, and the key is going to be a reference to a JS, not a static, JS string. From string, and this is game state. You return a result, but it's with this weird JS value. So, and match on you. All right, so if we're okay, we have like a JS result. Oh, JS value. So I want to take that value and turn it into a string. Otherwise, like, crash, I guess. Okay, so, and I've got that from game state, so I should be able to turn this into a string. So I should be able to do let game state equals, oh, and this is going to be the serialized game state. So serialized state equals our value dot, I think as string, and that becomes an option. And I think I can turn this into, I wonder if I can I turn this into a, let's see. I never remember. Oh yeah. Okay or returns this result. And I think the okay or the error is like what we're expecting. So if I do okay, or the error. So essentially I want like a this error or an anyhow error. I think I can do a there's an error that I can create here. And I forget exactly. Oh, I can do an anyhow. I might be able to do this. This would be error, converting state value to string. Yes, I know. I'm not returning the thing yet. I will. Don't worry. And then can I? Then can I? Okay, I can question you. So now I have a string. So back to here. EKS. Hello. Where is the game state being stored? All right. So the game state, I'm going to store it in the spawn. Okay. So we have there's this structure that we have the entire game. As soon as it dies, game over for us. So I don't really care if we lose it. So I can store this game state inside of the spawn because we start the game on turn 1 with a spawn already created, and if we lose it, game over anyways. So I don't care if we crash at that point in time. That's where we're going to store it. And that being said, I have to store it as a string. I could store it as an object, but that would just be insane for me to like do all the reflex to create everything there, and I just don't feel like doing that. So I'm just going to serialize it and deserialize it every single frame, and I think that's going to be easier / faster than doing all the calculations for like how many creeps do I have, what types do I have, and that kind of thing. So I think this is going to make it a little easier for me in the future to have like essentially a persistent state, kind of persistent state. But yeah, it's going to go onto the spawn. Okay, so I serialize the state. That's now the string. I now need to deserialize that. And I think we can do that with a .json on it. Or is it a... I do serialize state in the JS result. No. I've been working with like the HTTP too often, so I'm like, oh, .json in the result string. It's like no, I think it's gonna be like Serde JSON. Oh, this JSON, but I think that takes JSON and turns it into a string, and I think that's not what I want. There's to value. I think to value is what I want. Converts a T into a certain JSON value, which is an enum that could represent any valid JSON data. So here's their user. So the user is okay. They create this. I think it's the opposite of what I want. It seems to be creating a string. I think what I want is a just cert deserialize. I completely forgot how to use cert. Well, hold on. Let's go remind ourselves. I think it's cert JSON has the method that I want here for deserializing. Okay, so, oh, it's from stir. Okay, so just cert JSON from stir is okay, easy. Okay, so then what I want is, and then that is an, okay, so I can return that straight from here. So we're gonna do from stir and a reference to serialized state and question mark that. Oh, right, because, yeah, I don't think it wants the exact same type of result here. So I'm gonna do is let our state equals to that question mark u and then return the state. Okay, so that should be okay from you. What are you upset about? Mismatch types expected, reference, JS value, found reference result. Oh, from string. Okay, so then I put that there. Okay. Question mark operator cannot convert from JS string to JS value. Wait a second. So from JS string from stir, that should work. Hold on, I'm confused about why you're yelling at me. Expected to reference JS value into here. So for the key. So key is this JS. Oh, JS value instead. That's why. Okay, easy. Let's continue on. Okay, so we got our okay here, and then if we have an error, I want to probably just bail, and we'll just say error loading state. Okay, then what we want to do is if the very first thing we do is we load our state, but we only do that if the tick is greater than 1. Or we could just serialize an empty state into there in the case that the tick is 1. Maybe we could do that. So like if ticks is equal to 1, I just want to like initialize our state. So let an empty game state equals game state. I probably want to implement like a default on this. So I create you, and then I want to save you. But to save you, I am going to need our spawn. So my spawn equals let's get spawn. Yeah, get spawn true for mine. And this one should always work. I should be able to unwrap you. Oh, and as we were finding out, I should be able to do an okay or, and we can do a there's that error. So error getting my spawn. Oh, and that turns it into a real one. So then I can question mark you. Okay, so I get my spawn. I pass that into our save now. So empty game state, save, and pass in a reference to my spawn. And you return an error. Okay, so that's just on tick 1. So I'm just creating an empty game state, and we're going from there. Then at the very beginning of things, I want to now load up the game state. So game state is now equal to game state load and pass in a reference to my spawn. Okay, this should work. We should be able to grab our game state out and have that every single frame, and so I should be able to add to it, and I don't need to really think about it anymore as long as I put stuff that's serializable to just basic JSON. Which isn't that hard. Basically, I just need to not put in like all the creeps and like all the other objects. Like I don't think I can store the spawn itself in there, but I can store like data about the spawn. But okay, so if I just do this, I want to make sure that this this runs. Well, okay, I know that it compiles, so that will be fine. All right, now, what are little state things that we can now start just throwing in there? Because I can put like lots of substructs in there too. As long as they implement serialize and deserialize, I'm fine. The first step, I want to build 3. I want to build 3 collector creeps, and I want to have them. I need them like really early on, and I need them to start collecting right away. And I guess we need to also like say, hey, this is what you are. But I can use a lookup table for their roles internally instead of doing like the entire reflect thing on the creeps themselves, because I can use my own state for that, and it'll be a lot easier programming wise for that. Okay, so how do I want to do this? In game state in here. So we want I want to know if we still have let's ignore that. We're gonna create a fire line for this one. So we need 3 minimal creeps. I wonder if I wanted to create like another struct for this, like a minimal. Like the min max and all that stuff, or like the desired, the needed, because I want the count in here, and then I want the number that we have. Or do I want this just keep this all be flat? We could start with flat. So we're gonna have this is maybe the like initial do pub initial collectors. So like initial collectors is a U8, and maybe this will be have initial collectors. And then we also have a pub want initial collectors. Which you're also a U8. Was there a new thing in default where I could then tell it what that default is inside of here? I don't think that's in the official language, right? I have to bring in a library for that. I don't remember what that would be called. It would be like default Rust in instruct. I remember that there was some macros that you could use, but I don't think it's been added to the language. Okay, when using enums, you can choose which one will be default. That's actually really nice to do that. But yeah, okay, not the rest of it. All right, so have initial collectors. I think the thing that I want to do is my want initial collectors. I want 3 of them. And then I don't need you here anymore. Don't need you. I don't need you. Okay. All right, so this will start us off with 0, 0, and 3, and then I want to the order in which I'm building things is definitely going to be. Well, I can hard code that in, or I can create like an array of like what order that I'm building in. I think we can hard code it for right now. So we're gonna run our spawner next. So here in the spawner, let's this is I think gonna be a little bit easier now. So we're gonna have hub function and spawner. I need to take in the spawn. Oh, and I need to mod this. Okay, so I need to take in the spawn, and then also I need to take in I want to take in the game state, which is going to be a mutable reference to game state. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Well, first we're gonna check to see if I don't have to do any of the things where I like ask how many do we have or get anything else. We just check the game state here. So if game state dot if what we want, if want initial collectors is less than game state dot have initial collectors. So if what we want is less, so we start with 0, but no, other way around. If what we have is less than what we want, it's less than game state dot have initial collectors. Okay, so if what we have is less than we want, so we have 0, we want 3, then I want to create an initial collector. An initial collector is pretty simple. Let's do a const initial collector body is going to be an array. I guess like it could be a vector also, but I think I can do this as an array of body parts. Is it parts? And I want this to be, I don't know. I'll just give it 3 for right now, but we'll remember what it is very soon. Okay, so we have part. I want you to have a move and a part carry. And I think that's all I need. So 2 actually. That's how big you are. Cannot find your type. Bring that in. Okay, so if I have less than you, I want to spawn this type, and it's going to give me a potential error here, which I could match, and I don't know which ones I care about. Let's try matching, and we'll sort of see what we got. So we're going to match on. We're going to match on grabbing. I guess like tell the spawn. So spawn creep. This is a reference to the initial collector body. Build and match arms. Okay, so if it's this is a game result. Oh, that's not what I want then. Okay, hold on. Oh, we have the creep. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So we have the creep here. Do I care about this at all? I do care about this. I care about this because I'm going to now increment game state dot have initial collectors plus equals to 1. And I don't need to do any of these sort of like the weird reflect things, adding in a roll or like whatever to like the creep. I set you. Although I do need to store this roll somewhere, that this creep's like ID is what we expect it to be. And maybe I don't care about, well, I do care about some other things. But I think I want to change this around. So I want to do is let I guess this is going to be our... Oh, okay. I know what I'm going to do. Okay, so I store this. I need to now store what the role is. So in our game state, we have roles that go into here. I'm thinking our roles is going to be a lookup table. So this is going to be a hash map of our key is, what is the IDs? Like, for example, a creep, for example, oh, it's actually just a game object. All of them have an ID and is a string, which is a unique ID of this project you can use. Okay, so that's a string. Okay, perfect. If one of your collectors will be killed during an attack on your spawn, you will start spawning a collector when you might want to spawn a defender fighter. Is it correct? Well, and then that's the beauty of this is I don't want to necessarily respawn these ones here, but if they die, yes, I won't, like, I'll be out of sync with like reality. So I'll still think that I have 3 collectors, but I won't have them unless I write code to like detect when I die and then decrement this value myself. Okay, so roles is we're gonna have a string for our keys, so that's gonna be like the ID, and then the role I probably want I'm gonna create a role inside of here as opposed to like a global role. Have a role.rs, and let's mod in here. Hub enum role. If I do this, I need to derive, serialize, and deserialize. Okay, and this will be initial collector is our first role here. I guess I also need to implement a default. So default, and then we, is that true? I do need to implement a default. Dota, hello. How are you doing? And I think we saw it's something like this. What was that? We saw it in how to use default on enums. We derive default and then just like that. Default. Okay. Oh, you're getting into meme stocks. Oh no. Okay, role. Use create super role. I don't want the other role. I want this role. Well, it's a meme stock for you, right? Because you find it funny. So, like, it isn't a globally meme stock. I mean, like, it's like it. I don't know. Like, I guess in my mind, any stock that you're buying, not because of like you actually think it's gonna do good, but you think it's like funny, like, isn't that a meme stock? Like that. I guess that's how I always defined it in my mind. Probably other people will find it funny too. Okay, so now I have roles. Um, and I guess like I should probably name this like roles um, by ID. I wanted to make sure that this is a lookup table where I give the creep ID. So creep ID, and I get the role back. Okay, so for self here, we're gonna do roles by creep ID. This is really just gonna be a hash map new, like that. What is that called? It's a that's not a value stock. It's a there's a name for stocks that are very very reliable. They go up over time, but they don't really make you money, but they don't lose you money either. I forget what that's called. Um, but I think like that's the kind of thing that you put money into when you're like, I just don't want this to crash and burn. Okay, so I have you all. So back to my spawner. When I do this, I want to now get the ID of the creep. So let ID equals creep dot ID. Um, really, that's a JS string. Oh, of course it is. JS string, are you serializable? I have a feeling that it's not serializable. I guess I get the string out of it. So it's a JS string, and then I get the string out. So then I do as string. We know it's a string because it's a JS string. So then I should be able to. Well, I guess we have a result here, so we'll do then okay or. It's like that. Oh, fine. Error like that. And then I want you. Okay, our error is going to be error converting newly created creep ID to string. And then we question mark you here. Okay, so I have an ID, which is this string. Oh, funny enough, blue chip stocks became so popular they were no longer guaranteed money at one point. Interesting. Yeah, that's an entire world that I don't really know. All right, so I have this ID, and so now we get to put this in. We know what the role is that we're creating. I'm going to put this into the game state. So we're going to do game state dot roles by creep ID. We're going to insert. Our key is going to be this ID, and then the value is going to be a role. Oh, right. You don't know which one to do. Super role. Initial collector. So now I have that inside of here. So when I have this creep and I'm like, what are you? I can just look it up in a lookup table. It'll be super fast, and I'll be able to go from there and not have to do all this entire converting nonsense that I was doing before. Well, first dad, hello. Okay, so I've now got, we've created a creep. We know exactly what it is. We did the spawner body. We do that kind of stuff. Okay, probably going to have to break out the spawn creep into a different function. But then it will like return what that creep is. Oh no, it probably won't return what the creep is. I'll probably just figure out what the role is. We know we need to do that, so we might as well do that now. I wonder if I want to do something like this. Bring you down here. This matches spawn creep with the initial collector body. Okay, so I want I need to figure out what the body is, and I need to figure out the role. Oh, I do want this to be another function. So an internal function, which is just spawn creep. This will take in a body, which is a I think it would be like that. That's how it works. And then I also want the spawn, and you can return a result. I don't really care about you, just the error message. Oh, I also care about the role, so you can take in a role. Like that. Okay. I guess you also take in the game state. So game state, you're that. You go down here. Okay, so then my idea is inside of here, we call spawn creep. We pass in the body, which is going to be a reference to the initial collector body. We pass in the spawn. The role is going to be the initial collector, and then the game state. And then this, I think, we just return you, right? You'll be fine. No. Oh, missing an else clause. Yeah. So if we don't get anything else, you're just an okay. All right, now you take in all of this stuff. We spawn the creep with the initial collector body. If we're okay, we get this creep. Expected result. Okay, so we go all the way down to here, and then we just say, you know what? Everything was a-okay. If you failed to create the creep, it kind of depends why, isn't it? So if it's an error with a... Okay. Can I tell you to like put all the types in here? Can you figure that out? Let's see. It's a... Okay. Busy, I don't care about. Full, I don't care about. There's not enough energy, I think. Let's see. You don't know how long the chip shortage will last, though? Yeah, it's a good question. It's affecting a lot of things too. We'll see how that goes. Sudo, hello. Did I miss context, or is that from something else? Oh, sudo. Okay, never mind. I mean, you just have to use the sudoers file, and then sudo doesn't have a choice. Um, I mean, the problem is I don't have permission. I'm not even in the sudoers file, so I'm not aware of anything. You can. I have a Windows computer screen above, and I have my Mac screen right here in front of me. So yes, um, I'm on both. But yeah, you. Oh, you can't see it because I'm blocking the screen. Up here, this is pretty. It's relatively telling that it's a Mac. Um, I am blocking the Apple part with the chat overlay though. Okay, so turn code. Um, okay, so I wonder if I care about that. Oh, this is gonna get good, isn't it? I guess I can do the return code here. I know I can do like a sub match inside of here. I kind of want to look at all these to see what my choices are. So finally it hits that. So that's a problem that I've had all my life, is like constantly not getting those jokes like early enough. Like it just takes too long to set in. You know, just like a Mac. No, basically, yeah, yeah, it's a thing. So sorry, um, every double entendre for the last 2 weeks. I mean, last 2 weeks, if that's the only amount of time, that's not too bad. It's probably been last 2 years. Okay. And by the way, just because I got these ones does not guarantee future performance. Um, I will continue to not get them mostly. Too bad you can't buy stocks in that, because you'd probably make a killing. Okay, so I don't think most of these aren't going to be problems for me, are they? I guess it might be nice to like to string these to like sort of see what the error code is. But I don't know if does this return code um it implements serialized repr? Oh, and it implements debug. Okay. So um what I could do, sudo remove rf slash two. Well, I mean, so in some ways that'll make your computer really fast, because the full boot operation will be like super fast. In other potentially positive ways, you won't be able to do any work whatsoever for until you rebuild your computer, which could potentially be a positive. In negative, in like the negatives are that you now have to like rebuild your entire computer from scratch, which is also fun if you have that certain type of mentality. But yes, if you're new to the terminal and you're watching, do not run those commands. Do not run the command. In fact, anytime you see an remove RF, don't, like, just be careful. I tried to be positive. Okay, I don't really care about most of these. Although I suppose the not enough energy. But look at this. We have not found, not enough. I guess not enough is not enough energy, isn't it? That's the only thing I can think about. Path naming 6 busy, not found, not enough. Valid target. It must be not enough energy here. So everything else. Okay, so I want to do, if it's not enough, I want to return an error. Can I just bring this in? No. And then you are not enough energy. The rest of it is just we're going to return an okay. Like, it's actually okay. I don't really care. What are you upset about? Expected a result. Found an error report. Oh, do I want to bail? I might want to bail. Not enough energy. Okay, so that's now spawn creep. That gets added. Okay, so the role gets added in. Add the actual role in here, please. Body, use the body when creating the creep here. Okay. So now this will create our initial collectors. I think we can now test this out. I think we're at that point. So let's go ahead and I need to Docker. No, I've already got it running. I need a Docker start. Docker exec in, and then watch and deploy that. I mean, it's thinking about it. My files are all saved. Maybe? Possibly? You can do it. In the past, this has been pretty significantly faster, and I've actually removed code and tried to make it simpler. So I'm a little bit concerned about this. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, and so I'm using a Rust Docker crate. I haven't updated this. This is an older version of Rust than what I have programming with. So hopefully that shouldn't be a problem. Actually, it shouldn't be a problem because I don't think I'm using any brand new features in the new version of Rust. I don't really think they added anything for me, but we'll see. Oh, deriving default in enums is experimental. Okay, well, fine, never mind. Is this... Okay, is this the new thing they just brought in? That's... Okay, I am using the new feature. I can't do this. What I can do is import defaults for role. I could do a none on this. So we're gonna do a self none. Okay. There it goes. Okay, so it installed, it ran. We can come back to here. We're gonna play this test game. It doesn't really matter. We're going to lose guaranteed. What I want to see is that we create... did I not run? I didn't run. I mean, it would be a good test if I were to, run the spawner. So let's do spawner, run spawner, pass it in a reference to my spawn, and I want to make you exactly the same. So you are game states. Oh, and you're a mutable reference to the game state. Which means I need to let mute this. Okay. This recompiles. You sat there doing nothing. Let's try it again. I'm not getting any error messages, but I'm also not creating spawning any units, which I think I should be able to do very easily with 500 storage points. The fact that I haven't done this is an indication that something is severely wrong. Okay, so what happened? So in mod, we have our game state this. Oh, I need at the very end, I want to do game state dot save. Pass it a reference to my spawn. Can I just do this? Yes, I can. Okay. That'd be the next thing is, are you actually working? I mean, I think that it is. Okay, so built again. Let's try it again. I should be instantaneously on turn one starting to spawn a creep. So the fact that that's not working is a little bit disconcerting. So okay, if ticks equals 1, we just do this entire thing. which should be fine. I'm not getting any errors reporting for this, so that's that should be okay. I guess like if I bail, just like test, I'm pretty sure I get that as a string because I think we tested and got that working uh early on. Yep, here we go. We get this warn test right there. So excellent. Along with the line number that it happened on, which is super nice. Okay, so this is working. Like I'm getting the initial game state. Um, okay, so I'm getting the spawn. I'm loading the game state. I'm running the spawner. If have collectors is less than, oh, are your parents programmers or like do computer work? Uh, Why why would they get? Okay, here we go. We're doing it. So we should create 3 of these really quickly, and then not anymore. Um, oh, but we're getting an error. Converting newly created group ID to string. That's not good. They wouldn't. It's a joke that should stand on its own. I don't think. Is this all now I'm like double thinking everything and I can't tell like am I like is this another joke that I'm not getting? I'm overthinking everything now. So sorry. Okay, so I created more than 3. Also, we're getting an error converting newly created creep ID to string, which is so that's great. We're getting that error. So here this is as string. Okay, or so you're not a string. It's a JS string. This ID gives us a JS string, which I would expect that a JS string I could then as a string it, but it's not a string. Thank you, thank you JS string. Um, what are you? So an ID. So okay, first of all, if I try to get yeah, the only one I see here is the ID, which is a string. So they refuse to tell us what it might be, which makes sense, right? Like if they want to make them UUIDs, that's perfectly fine. If they want to make them integers, that's okay too. Like I shouldn't care about that. I just need to know what the type is. They say it's a string here. We get a JS string back when I run ID. Um, do you not have a value? Okay, so hold on. Before I do any of that kind of stuff, let's say if I do let's do a lot less. Let's just grab this as a JS string. If I can't do that, what can I do? So as string is an option string. So that means it's a none. So it's not a string. I can do like as a bool char f64. Are you undefined? I wonder if you're undefined. The other thing is spawn creep. What do you return? You return. Okay, you return to full creep. So it is the full creep. That's what I sort of expected it to be. So, hold on, let's cancel you. I want structure spawn creep. Start this creep spawning process. The required amount of energy can be withdrawn from your spawns and extensions in the game. Dot object? Wait, dot. What? Do I have to reflect to get you out? No, I shouldn't have to. You say you give me the creep back. Okay, this is like the point of a type system. Is it if it tells me that I got a creep, I should trust that I have a creep. But it's possible that the creep doesn't have an ID on it. Or that ID somehow isn't a string. Okay, so let's try. I have as string. We also have as f64. I could try this. Okay, so as f64 dot okay or am not a number either. Let ID equals string from ID. What, you can't? Okay, fine. ID to string. Okay. Oh, it does derive debug. I totally forgot. We can do, okay. Let's, the creep derives debug. Wait, does creep derive debug? This type, oh, can't go to the type. Yeah, it does. Twisted, hello. You didn't realize anyone streamed Screeps on Twitch. It's not a very popular game to stream on Twitch. Although it might just be because it's not a super popular game because it's very nichey. But so is programming on Twitch. So there's that. Also, so hello. we're doing Screeps Arena here. I'm a relatively new player. I've only been doing it for like a couple months now, but I've only been playing on Sundays. So really that's only like a week solid of playing. And okay, you're working on MMO. I played MMO a long time ago and then have forgotten pretty much everything about that. Arena came out, at least the alpha, and I am liking this a lot more than I liked the MMO. Or Worlds, I think is what they called it. Uh, so I am stuck. So I'm doing this all in Rust. As a programming language, it's compiling to WebAssembly and going from there. Everything else is fine. You have a vendetta against Tiga. So I don't know any of the meta of like the world stuff anymore. I've been out of that game for so long. Um, is Tiga one of the AIs that like one of the open source like AIs that a lot of people just pluck and drop down? Oh, Tiga's number one on Arena and World. Okay. Um, I've heard that name before. Oh, it's a 100% private bot. Oh, okay. That's going to be harder to fight against because you have to like reverse engineer from just looking at their behavior. Um, okay, so I want to take this ID before. Okay, let's try this. Let's get their ID and let's just. Okay, we're gonna warn. And we're gonna say warn takes in a thing, right? I don't. Oh, I can do that. Okay, perfect. So warn. I want. What am I working on right now? I'm working on spawn and swamp, and I'm sort of starting over with my new strategy because I ran into an enemy that just totally defeats us. So in Arena, so spawn and swamp. For any of you who's watching who hasn't seen this before, I didn't do an introduction beforehand, so let's do one really quickly here. Arena is different than Worlds, as in it's just a single instance. We both, me and one enemy spawn into a single arena, as it were, and there's a specific objective that we need to do. If we get that objective, we win, and if we fail to get, our opponent gets that first, we lose. In this case, our objective is to kill the other spawn, as it were, before they kill us. So I was over here. I created a bunch of like level 1 beginning creeps. Their idea is they're going to grab a bunch of energy from these here for me. And then I need to build an army to go and take care of them. These guys have so far defeated all of my attempts to do anything about that. So first step here, I want to build 3 different collector creeps and then have them build a fire line between here, here, and then my spawn will be right here. And they'll just hand things off to each other to drain those containers as quickly as possible. So we're trying to get the ID so I can store it and know that these are the collector creeps that I'm looking for. So creep ID is, let's do a debug of this, and we'll do creep.id like that. Now you're a little bit hard to do, so we'll just do this. There won't be any errors, but I should get that out. So that compiles. I go back to here and start again. None of these matches that I'm sort of playing as I'm testing these around are causing me to like lose ranked points or anything. Playing against somebody you've already played against is just like a practice match again and again. So error, unwrap throw failed. Well, that's interesting. That's I don't know where that error comes from. So ID gives me this. Are you unhappy? I increased my initial collectors, but I can't necessarily insert into here yet. Why are you upset by that? Unwrap throw failed, huh? Do I have any unwraps in this new code? No, not there. Not here. No. That's interesting. Why would you fail like that? Okay. Let me try a format for this. So warn takes can I do format let's see, creep ID debug mode for creep.id. Format argument must be a string literal. Oh, because warn, you take string literal. Okay, hold on. I'll do that in a second. I guess like my warning. It's gonna be format. Creep ID. This will be creep.id. Okay, so that gives me a string here, and then can I reference warning? Okay, no, you want this to be like that. Warning. I wonder if it can't do debug mode. Okay. Oh, notice unwrap throw again failed. So debug mode doesn't work. I can't do debug mode of the ID of a JS string. I wonder if that's a bug in the code, like in the library or in the JS string maybe. That seems unfortunate. Okay, so what we can do here is we can maybe sort of play around with some of these. So if let's do let ID equals creep.id, that gives me this. Just Analyzer, can you just have a little quick restart there? That was odd. Okay, so I want to experiment out with turning this ID into different things and just sort of like to see what we have. Now I notice in the game here when I click on one of my creeps, heck, our opponent has creeps building, and I can see inside of it there is this creep which has an ID. This ID is 17, which happens to be a number. So I'm wondering if even though we're in the JS string, they're trying to put a number in it, which could potentially cause weirdness. So let's try id dot not as string. Well, here, we can do all these. Is big int, is falsy, is null, is object. Okay, so let's try is there no number? Big int? I don't think that would be right. Can I get the type of? Probably not the type ID. JS type of. There we go. I want the JS type of, which will tell me what that is. Let's not do debug mode. That will give me a JS value, but we know that that's a string. So then as string, creep ID type. Okay, it's an option string. So then I guess we'll unwrap here. That should work. You've rebuilt. Creep ID type. So if I look in here, I see the creep has an ID of okay, hold on, let's go back. So when I'm building this, I see the creep has this an ID of 9 already, but maybe on the very first. So 9. So creep ID type is undefined. Okay. Well, that would certainly explain why I can't get the ID out of it. It's undefined. I wonder if it's not set up or created until after uh-oh. There's an issue for it. Yep, I am. I am indeed. Also, hello, it's Sitsu. It panics with unwrap throw. You only get this issue with creeps, not structures. From debugging, it seems to work if you instead call GSys reflect get the ID, but it actually returns a JS value number instead of string. I think the cause is that the JS API is inconsistent with storing the. Oh, okay. Another issue is that it panics when you call creep.id before it spawns, in which case it returns undefined attribute instead. Okay, so that's literally what we're getting. Okay. I don't really have anything else to add here besides a thumbs up on it. So, all right, well, that lets us know we have to do that reflect thing to get it out. So let's grab let's actually create a utility for that. See, it's under global utilities. we're going to have a pub function get creep ID. You are apparently a U32, I believe. So I want to extract out. Okay, so let ID equals creep.id. No, we can't do that. We have to reflect out. So we want to do is let. And I'm going to want this to be probably a result with a U32 inside. Okay, so I want a reflect get target is the creep and the key is JS value from stir ID. I forget. Okay, this gives me this type of result, but it's a weird result, so we can match view. Okay, so if we're okay, we get the ID, which is this JS value. Okay, so for this JS value, I want to now extract out what the ID is in. So let's shadow ID equals ID dot. I don't think it's an as string. I think that what this person was saying is that it's a number. A JS value number instead of a string. Okay. Which I think is an F64. Okay. Which is then we want an okay or error. This is going to be error getting number ID out of creep. Question mark U. It gives us an F64. I could convert this into a string. Or I could make it. We could make this a string. Because that's what the documentation says it's supposed to be. So I'm going to take this ID dot to string. Oh, it'll be okay. ID dot to string. And that's what we return. So that's, you're happy here. Otherwise, we fail to get this out. And so let's fail with error getting ID property off of. Okay, so now I can get the creep ID from here. Okay, so then this is going to be get creep ID, pass it in a reference to the creep, question mark U. That gives us this ID string. It should now be able to insert the ID and the role in. It's a little bit unfortunate. I have to reflect, get that off. But okay. So that works now. And because of that, it doesn't crash out. The have initial collectors, I'm saving at the end. And we're loading, so I should be good now. Also, just to make sure, I want to warn. We have out of collectors. So let's do game state dot have initial collectors. Game state dot want initial collectors. So I want to make sure that we are actually loading and saving that state properly. Okay, so that no errors, that should compile properly. Let's try this again and see if it works now. Oh, we have 0 out of 3 collectors. Well, that's unfortunate. Error getting number ID out of creep. Okay, so it couldn't get the ID out of the creep. Also, it's never incrementing the collector. So that's 2 issues here. Can I not store things on the spawn? Okay, so go back into here. So this is error getting number ID out of creep. So error getting number ID out of creep. So it's not an F64. So let ID. Let's try this again. So let's ID equals warn. I want the ID is type ID dot JS type of as string unwrap. I just want to see what this is as it runs. I wonder if that's still undefined. Even want to reflect it out. I accidentally closed it off. I have to run it again. ID is type undefined. Okay, so I can't get that ID, which really sucks. And there's a couple problems here also that I noticed. So getting the creep out, getting the ID out of the creep just doesn't work. And then storing the state isn't working either. So game state doesn't seem to be saving this data. So like I'm have initial collectors. If Tix is 1, I want to create a brand new one and save it. Otherwise, I want I have empty game state. I'm creating new game state. I'm loading here. Loading is taking our spawn and it's attempting to reflect this out of game state and go from there. And I'm not getting this error loading state. So I would expect this would work. Let's try a quick warn here. I want serialized state. Okay. Can I? Oh, I can make this bigger. Okay, nice. So here's our serialized state. Have collectors 0, want initial collectors 3, rolls by creep ID is just empty. Okay, so totally makes sense. Then we go down and have never increments. Okay, so so getting it out is successfully getting it out, which means I'm successfully saving it. Is this always reporting as like tick 1? Like that would be hilarious if like this is just always tick 1. It's initializing state. I should only see that initializing state once. But if I see it multiple times, that would explain a lot. Wait, I'm not seeing it at all. Okay. Wait a second. I'm not seeing this warn at all. That seems is I mean, this code it seems to be adding to it with these things. Like the code seems to be running. Am I just missing it here? Okay, hold on. Go. Okay. I can see the tick number. So if I go to tick 1, okay. If I throw in here ticks Okay, let's just see what the ticks are at the very beginning of this. That should also compile. Okay, so hold on, let's go back to the very beginning. Okay, so tick 1 is the first one. Ticks 1. Okay. That's a U32. This wouldn't compile if it wasn't, which means I can compare it to something like this with 1. And we know that the number is 1 here. The ticks 1. Okay, so if ticks is 1, empty game state is this, and then I want to just save it with my spawn in here. What's a little bit concerning to me is why don't I have this like saving game state? Okay, so so if I do another warn, saving initial game state. Did it like not let it run long enough before it compiled? And that's done. Okay, there we go. Saving initial game state. Okay. And then I'm not seeing that again. So that's good. Okay, so we're saving the game state once. Okay, great. Now if we go into this game state we have here, and then this game state. So if I hit save, I guess I want to now see what it thinks it is. So here's our serialized state. Let's take a look. Let's do a warn. Saving game state. You know what? To make it easier on our servers, let's switch to an idle opponent. We're not doing anything yet where we care about them. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning and we'll do one tick at a time. So saving game state, and we have this here. So these are basic. It's exactly the same as the game state that we then load out. Okay. Now this game state, we have like have initial collectors. That is coming from load here. Right here. Okay, so the next one. Oh, it's never saving the game state because it's crashing. Right, which exits the function early. For this, okay, getting a number ID out of creep. Okay, so that's our issue, is we're crashing early. All the IDs are going to be unique. Okay. Is this using the latest version on Crates.io? It seems like the latest version on GitHub is very different. I believe I'm using Crates.io, a different branch. Yeah, and I can show that. Screeps Arena Game API is going off of a different branch directly to GitHub. So yes, it is a different branch on GitHub. That's why it's so different. Okay, so what do I so that explains that. We can't seem to extract the ID out of the object for reasons. So that means we're gonna have to put the role into the creep. I don't see any other way around it. We're gonna have to put the roll into the creep. It's possible that like the next frame that we're gonna know exactly what it is, like we can get it, but I'm not sure how to find the idea of the creep anymore. So this is our problem. It's crashing. So this code doesn't run, or this code runs, but the save never happens because it's just gone at that point. So what can I do? What can I do about this? I want to grab the. If I can't get the ID, I guess I want to add something in. Like I want to add a role. I guess I want to add like a role onto it. We'll put a untracked on it, and then the role. I think we just put the role in. Okay, so let's head on over to role, and I think what we'll do is like for this role, we'll put the like, I like to do this up here. Role hub function add. Okay, so let's add to creep. Take in a reference to self and a creep. And in this case, I don't think we need to do anything there. Okay, so we need to reflect, add in the role, which also means I need a toString for this. Okay, so then back up to here, we can get the string of the role. So let's see, role string, it's going to be equal to self dot toString. Then we're going to reflect into the creep what the role is. Okay, so that's reflect set the creep reference to a JS value from stir. It's the role string. And nope, not the role string. This is going to be role. JS value from stir. This is going to be the role string. Okay. You have, okay, so if let error care equals that, then I want to bail saying error setting role on creep. Otherwise, we're good to go. You've done your job. Okay, so I can now, in the spawner, we have this role. I can't get the ID, but I can say, okay, we have an initial collector in here. So we know that we have a collector. We can say a role dot add to creep and pass in the creep. Yeah, reference to the creep. Okay. Get state. Now I can't add in the ID of this creep because I don't know what that is. So I can't do that. Which means I don't really need the let's go back to game state. We don't need this thing. Okay. It's unfortunate, but we don't really have a choice here. So take care of some of these warnings, and then make sure that everything is serialized and storing correctly in the game. Yeah, here now we're seeing 1 and 1 in the same. Okay, now we're only going to create 3 of these total. So that was what the problem was. We were crashing early because we can't get the ID because of that error, because of that bug in the code. But okay, so we've now got our 3 initial collectors here. The roles are stored inside of them, and that's pretty much all we can deal with. So I want to run the collectors. I want to run the initial collectors. Right, and that is a role is an initial collector. So let's have in Swamp. I'm gonna have another one run initial collector. Okay, so function run initial collector, please. We're gonna take in a creep. We also need the spawn. And everything else we can get ourselves. So return a result with nothing in it. Okay, so what do I need to do here? Well, first of all, I do need to return this, okay, at the end. That'll make it happy. Okay, but what do I really need to do? I need to know how many of us there are. If there's... Well, actually, no. I could make... I don't need to know how many of us there are. We know that we can create 3 of these creeps super fast without needing to go and collect everything. So we need to know the 3 different sort of positions to put ourselves in. And looking at the map, if we're on the left-hand side, it's 1 left, 2 left, and 3 left from this, but the same Y coordinates. And So if we're on the left-hand side, it's just an arrow like that. If we're on the right-hand side, it's just like that, but we're not on the same Ys. The X's, yeah, that's fascinating. We're not in the same Ys. It's sort of offset, that's a little bit interesting. I wonder if they did it on purpose to make you have to like dynamically handle this. But that's not really that hard. We can get the XY coordinates of our struct. So let's of our spawn. Let's do let our spawn x equals spawn dot x spawn y equals spawn dot y. Okay. We also need to know, are we on the left-hand side or right? That to me is very set logic to here. So let's do a function is left is spawn on left. We'll take in the spawn and we'll return a Boolean. Okay, so to me, the easiest thing would be that actually we can take in the X. So let's take in an X, spawn X, which is a U8. So if spawn X is less than 20, let's say, then return, I don't know why I'm doing that way. Just return spawn X is less than 20. I want to do this here as an actual function because then I've named that little bit of logic. So if we're going to the left and we want to create 3 positional arguments, and I need to know which creep is going to be the first one. So let's see, how would that work? I need to know, I almost need to know the ID of the creep that's going to be in. Oh, I probably want to store this data in game state in here. So if I store game state of like collector position 1, collector ID of position 1, collector ID position 2. So like I wonder if I call this like fire team. That may not make sense. Like initial collector position. Like position is going to be a... Oh, and I can set these because I have the spawn here. So I can do this with the default. Okay, nice. I wonder if I can do this as just an object then. So initial collector position, like we want 0, 1, and 2. And you're all going to be object. I think you're just going to be an object. Why are you upset? Oh, because object is not satisfied. Object cannot be serialized. Well, okay, fine. if I can't serialize object, then we're just going to do this as a tuple of a U8, U8. So we have the X and Y of that. So it's just going to be a little vector 2. Default, I can't actually do default anymore for this, can I? Because I need the game state to create the first version. So we're not gonna we're going to do hub function new, and we're gonna take in the spawn. I mean, I can just do a result with a self inside. That'll be fine. Okay, so here we can find out, are we on the left-hand side or not? I want to return a... Most of these are going to be easy. Let's start with you. So, have initial collectors. You're going to be 0. We want 3. Position 0. I could do this entire thing where I like dynamically create and like figure all that out. I'm thinking I probably want like a private function in here. So a function, create, calculate, initial collector position. I could just use this one as like a 1, 2, and 3, and like it grabs that out. That might make sense. Or I could return all of them. Let's see, it's gonna take nothing in. It's gonna return. So I could do something like this, where I like do U8, U8. This is pretty horrible. I'm going to start with that, and we're going to really quickly find out whether or not I actually want to do that at all. So our initial position, I need we need our spawn. So we first find out if we're on the left-hand side. So if spawn.x is less than 20, we're on the left-hand side. If we're on the left-hand side, I want to take our y and we're going to minus 1, 2, and 3, but keep the x's. No, keep the y's. That's it. Okay. So, okay, so I want let y is going to be equal to spawn.y. That's going to be the same no matter what. And I guess the spawn x, okay, so let spawn x equals x. Okay. So I want to return here. All right, so the first one is, let's just do -1. So that's going to be for the x position, spawn x -1, and then y. Then spawn x minus 2 and y. Spawn x minus 3 and y. And that's what we return. Now, otherwise, we're on the right-hand side, and everything is exactly the opposite. These no, don't do them to every symbol. Just these. These become pluses. But everything else should be about the same. So that's the calculate initial positions, and so I should be able to now do let initial collector position 0, initial position 1, two equals, that's gonna be a self. Calculate that and pass in the spawn. Then we can return okay, self, and then have initial collectors, want initial collectors. Okay. So that should give you all that. Okay, so then so that lets me know which one, like which ones we want to be in. I still need to know inside of game state which creep is going to take that up. So I don't think I can do a JS value in here. Let's find out. So if I do a pub initial collector ID is, I think it also is a JS string. It's not serializable. Okay, makes sense. So before I do that, I want to find out what you are. What is your ID? Which means I'm not doing any of this stuff yet. Because I need to get the role out of here. Let's head back to mod. Okay, so you're new, and you take in my spawn. Okay, so you're all happy now. We load you. This thing is working, so I don't need that warn anymore. We run the spawner, and then we save. So at this point, I want to run all the creeps, so I need to loop through all of my creeps as it were. So let's grab them here. So that creeps. And these are going to be my creeps. Okay, so here's a vector of all of my creeps. I can loop through them. really need to take ownership. But I guess I could, because I'm recreating this every single frame, which sucks, but whatever. I guess I have no choice. If I want to get the ID here, because they're created, can I do that? So, let's, I guess like, that ID equals get creep ID and pass it in a reference to my creep. So I'm really curious, like, will this cause an error or not? We can warn what this is. Someone just asked you how you feel about IDE when you asked which one. You said Java. Tell them that they need more coffee. Script. And then you have to be very, run away. Get creep ID, it reflects out the ID of the creep if it exists. Otherwise it crashes, because then it can't get the ID and it bails out. I just want to see, like, can I get the ID now? Like, can I get the ID? Maybe, possibly, because then I can store that into game state. Like, the first one we see, we can then say, oh, you go in here, you go in here. Well, it does work. I'll show you what I mean. It's weird. So creep ID ID. Let's do this. So if I go to get creep ID, I was reflecting this out. I think that we can probably not do that again. So let's do let ID equals creep.id. Now, when we do this, we get a JS string. So then I want to match ID dot as string. Okay, so we have a sum or a none, right? Okay, so if it's just that, let's just do ID dot as string okay or error. So ID is not a string. You want to get into coding but was really confused about everything, explained what an ID was, gave some examples, then told him he would probably like Visual Studio Code. The thing about Java that I think like a lot of like sort of more senior developers don't necessarily realize is that it's come a long way in the last like few years. And because of that, VS Code and Java aren't the worst idea in the world. Like, you can get pretty far with Visual Studio Code or Vim or any other thing. You don't need Eclipse or what's the big one that like everybody switched over to after Eclipse? It's I forget what it's called. It's the JetBrains one, right? But anyways, like, you don't need that. Like, especially when you're beginning and you're just writing it, I wouldn't recommend it. It's just something gets in the way, and you have to like not PyCharm, because that's Python. For Java, it's like it's similar, but they all have like interesting names, and I constantly forget what they are. I just remember JetBrains makes one that's very popular. But okay, let's do this. And so we return this out. So the idea is a string. There we go. Back to you. Get the creep ID. Why are you upset? Because I forgot a comma. IntelliJ. That's what it is. IntelliJ. Thank you. Okay, so I should get the creep at this point, and I should see what the creep is and not get the error unable to get the creep ID. What did I call that? Yeah, ID is not a string. Creep ID is not a string. Let's see. Oh, also, let's just clean up some of these other game state of these warnings. Don't need you. Don't need you. Okay. Told him you use Vim because you don't have a use for the features of an IDE. Told him it's probably not that great for beginners because it has a bit of learning curve, so not recommending via VS Code. Yeah, so my recommendation for beginners is Visual Studio Code or Vim, depending upon their background. Like if they're a beginner programmer, but they've used Vim before because they were like a sysadmin, then just go with Vim. Whatever you're familiar with, as long as it has programming capabilities. Anyways, point of the story, beginners have really funny questions and it's adorable sometimes. It is funny. It's also really scary because they get those questions from looking at they get those questions from looking at like articles online or advice from like other programmers who tell them like, no, you have to do all of these things. And it's like, okay. And it's like, we need to do better. We as an entire industry need to do better. Onboarding into our industry sucks. Okay, so creep ID is not a string. Fine. It's not a string. What are you? Warrant. Creep ID is a ID dot JS type of as string unwrap. I think it might be a number. It's a number. Okay, so it is a number. My number options are not plentiful. It's like if I do as a Boolean character, F64, or a ref. So I guess as an F64. So in that case, these are F64s. That's what we got here. Okay. So we get the creep ID, which is an F64 out of here. That should work. Let's verify. Yep. Okay. Creep ID. So now I have the creep ID. So when you first create it, it's not available. After one frame, it is available. Yeah, we don't get that until tick number 2. So it's good to know. We can't create it and get the ID in the same exact frame. Okay. So now that I know that's an F64, I get this ID in here. I want to call the run initial collectors. We have the creep, and I guess I can get the ID out of here. So I don't really need the ID right here. We're going to run initial collector. Pass in my creep. Pass in my spawn. And we'll question mark you. Oh, and we need the game state. We absolutely need the game state. And this needs to be a mutable game state. Okay, so you are game state, like that. Okay, so I can get the IDs of the creep out in game state. We know the initial collector positions, so we now need to know whether or not we have filled those positions. So pub initial collector 1, or I guess initial collector 0 is going to be a ID is going to be an F64. No, it's going to be an option F64. How do you know what type that is already? Rust Analyzer, are you figuring things out before I even told you to? That's pretty good. Just because of the same names? Oh, they need to be sums. Well, I guess you weren't that correct. Oh, it's because I put the 0.0, isn't it? Yeah. So you're actually none to start with. Oops. That would have been easier. Okay, so you begin with none, so we have no collectors in their right positions. So as we run our initial spawners, we get our ID out. So let's get the ID. And that will get us, I can now check to see if we have an initial collector in position 1 or in position 0. I don't need to go in there. So we need to, I need to find the first, well, I guess like we check to see which one we're going for, right? So if game state dot initial collector 0 ID is none, then I know that's where we're going. So then we would say, okay, game state dot initial collector 0 ID equals a sum of an ID. I named you IP ID. That would be step 1. And then step 2 I want to do is let our position the position we want to get to is equal to the position we want to get to would be game state dot position 0. That gives me essentially the X and Y, which then are, it's like the position equals create a position object with this X and Y. And then I want to move the creep there. So creep dot move to target is position. Okay, so I can see that this will be a lot of duplicate code if I try to now do this for like 1 and 2. And there's some other problems. What if they're all filled? Then what? So I need to first check to see if they're in any of the positions. So if you're in any of the positions, I guess like if you're not, set it, and if you are, retrieve back what the position is. So that might be a function that we do. I wonder if that would be a function on the game state. Sitsu, thank you so much for hanging out. Yeah, Screeps Arena is pretty fun. I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than I ever really enjoyed the worlds part. I think it's just because like it's just it works more with like the style that I want to play, which is the like just a short battle matches and not like have to manage multiple rooms with like a huge different thing. I kind of wish that like Screeps Worlds was not worlds, but really just like, I don't know, a normal RTS. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. You're gonna try Tori, so that's you should let us know how that goes. I might be interested in trying the Tori app myself too sometime. Okay, so what if it's something? I need to check to see what that something is and compare them together. So I need to know what position to put in. Okay, so I guess what if I do a loop? What if instead of just 3 positions like this, I just do like initial collector IDs? And it would be an array of essentially an option F64. So it would be none, none, none. And I loop through. I like that already more. So what if I do this? Pub initial collector IDs is going to be an array of option F64, 3 of them. And so we're going to create you as initial collector IDs equals an array option. Oh, it's just going to be an array none, none, none. And initial collector IDs. You have a basic workspace and a button that counts how many times you clicked it. Oh, that's, I mean, you've got something working, so that's great. Okay, so if I do that, back to you. I want to iterate through the initial collector IDs. So we're going to keep this as a reference. So for initial, or like this is a set. So set collector ID in game state initial collector IDs iter. You're this reference to an option F64. That's fine. I can check to see, okay, so if you're none, I want to, okay, thank you, Etsutu, and have a great rest of your day. Okay, so if it's a none, I want to what? I want to, we're going to set it in, like the first one that we find if it's a none. So we can match off of this. So set collector ID. What? No. Build match arms. Okay, so we match on you. If it's a none, we're gonna set that to be ours. This is maybe a little bit dangerous. Because I don't know if I want to update this here. Thank you, Lumicode. I try to be pretty calm and like not extreme in any ways. I know that there's a lot of other streamers and a lot of viewers that really like that type of thing, but I've been more of a I don't know what thing to sort of like describe it to, but I've always like preferred this sort of the calm energy. If it's a none, what do we want to do? I want to set it to be a sum. If it's this option, can I set that there? Can I make it become? What if I make this an iter mute? I've already got this as a mute here. So it's a mutable reference to an option F64. So if it's a none, can I make it a sum? Is that something I can do? Can I say like set collector ID is equal to a sum of ID? No, because like let's see. No. Dereferenced? So dereference set collector ID become this sum ID. Okay. And in that case, I want to return this one here. I don't think so, because like if we reach the Rust Anonomicon lands of unsafe, I have to still use unsafe. Like I still have to use unsafe. The compiler is like probably giving me a little bit of a squint eye, going like, "What are you doing?" But technically, this is okay. I think that's what's happening so far. I'm getting a little bit of side eye, but not bad yet. Not bad yet. Okay, so next thing here. Before we get the iter mute, let's enumerate. No, it's after iter mute. let's enumerate, which gives me the index here. And I want to go back into game state and do the exact same thing with this. We have initial collector positions is going to be an array with a tuple of U8, U8, 3. So our, okay, so this is going to be a array of like X and Y. Okay, so I still have these here like that. I just need to return this as an array here. So actually I'm returning 3. So you're just like that. And like that, okay? Okay, so let's initial collector positions equals U. And then I store that away. It's going to be the exact same size, so I can now use the index of this one here. So if it was this one, I now want to, I set that. I want to now do let position. It's really going to be like this. X, Y equals, and I want game state dot positions index. Return that out. Oh, wait. I forgot this for loop. Hold on. I forgot about the for loop. I'm putting the let xy in the wrong. Okay, I'm confusing myself. Hold on. Okay. So hold on. So I do this, I get the index out of here. This is if I find you. Okay, so if the first one is none, I want to set what you are in here. So actually I can get the XY. So like that X and Y is equal to game state dot initial collector positions of index. And this is going to be fine, right? Up until I have to do this again. So like this is now set collector ID, but if I'm doing it sort of like this logic at the same time here, this will be the set ID. If the destructured set ID is equal to ID. they should be exactly the same, but if they're doing their weird thing where they're like reflecting in and out of like strings back to not strings, that could cause weirdness. I don't think it would though. Okay, so we get set ID equals ID. Okay, so if we get here, then I want to, I'm not setting it because we're already set. I want to get this exact same thing out, is what that is, which means I want that out here. So let our X and Y equals U. We're now going to return from here the game state initial collector positions index. Now, if it's an else, I'm actually I just want to continue. And the continue will exit all the logic out and go to the next iteration of the loop. So we should be fine then. Okay, if it's a none, I just want to return this. And so far, we now have this X and Y. Okay. Why are you upset? You're not upset. We now have the X and Y. I can now turn that X and Y into a position option. Okay, so let our position equals create position object, put in the X and Y. And then we're going to have our creep I don't need to be in this for loop anymore. I kind of want to be done with it at this point, which I really hate the idea of like having external state out of here. But the second I have this, I'm good to go. So I want to put that into a function and return this X and Y. That's what I want to do then. So I want to take U out. And we're going to say a private function of get, I guess like get position. So we're going to return, we can actually return this object, this position object. So that would be fine. I can now do a return here. Does an early exit out of the for loop and returns this object. All right, you're probably going to yell at me, right? You're going to say, let's see, why are you upset? Can I find it? Import. You were saying expected JS object found nothing. For I am returning create. But what happens if, oh, I need game state. Okay. Need game state. I need this ID, so I need creep ID is an F64. So equals creep ID, and this equals creep ID. Smash types found. So expected, this object found nothing. I want to return out of view, but what happens if there's nothing? If we get to here, I want to error out. So now, is it really error out if there's no positions? Yeah, actually, that's an error. So result, I want you to be this object. So return and OK. Otherwise, we want to bail and say error, didn't find the creep, the initial, the positions for initial creep collectors. There we go. Now we're happy. Okay, so get position. So let position equals get position, pass it in that game state, pass it in the ID. Okay, I now have that position. Oh, I can question mark U. I have that position. I can now tell the creep to move to the position. So creep dot move to the position, and that's a none. So that should move them there, but they won't start collecting yet, which should be fine. But let's see if we can get the 3 creeps created and us moving. Oh, it didn't. Well, that's too bad. Let's try it again. I wonder if I started loading it right when I was finishing, because it's so fast. There we go. So I want to see them get all line up. Okay, now, once we're all in position, I want this creep to collect from this container and then transfer it to this creep, who then transfers it to this creep, who then deposits it into this the spawn. Okay, so once we're all in position, now move to, this gives us back a return code. Will you tell us that, I kind of want to find out, is there a return code to say hey, we're all in position now? Because if we're once we've reached position, I could set something in game state to say we're there, we're good to go. Or I could just try to do it anyways. That might work too. But okay. Let's see. So we got this point. The next thing is The last one is the one closest to our container. So that this is going to be a little bit, maybe a little bit odd. I want to start with the last one. And I only want to do this if they all are something. So let's do if game state dot let's do a little bit of a state management thing on this. We can do that here. So let's do a pub function. It's not necessarily in place, but like have all initial collectors. Takes in a reference to self and returns a Boolean. What do we need to know? We need to know that self dot initial collector IDs dot 0 is some. Wait, what? Is some and? What is that? Returns true if the option is a sum and the value inside of it matches a predicate. Well, really? I didn't know that was a thing. That's really cool. Is sum and self dot initial collector IDs 0 is sum is 1 and self dot initial collector IDs 2 is sum. I probably, it might be a good idea to do a like a filter or like a reduce or some like iteration really quickly through, find out like if they're none or something. With 3 of these things, I don't know if it's that big of a deal. I just like check this really quickly. It's very obvious what's happening here. It's not too bulky and it's hidden away behind a function. So I can do have all initial collectors. So if you're all set, I'm gonna do if game state have all initial collectors. We now have all the initial collectors to go. They are either in position or moving into position. So I want to, if my spawn, okay, I need to know which position I'm in. This get position is like a literal like XY coordinates of where to go. I also need to know like which position in the index I need to be in. Like, am I collecting from the collector or the storage, or am I putting it, am I transferring it, am I just like in the middle, or am I at the end? I don't know. Almost as if I need to set up a, I hate to say this because like Rust and doing this is like terrible idea. So this is probably not a great idea. I need to set up some kind of linked list almost for this, but not really. If I just have the vector and I know what position I'm on, I just move on to the next one. I don't actually need to be a real linked list. I just need to think of it in that way, in those terms. If I get position, okay. So it's like if I have all of them, we starting at the end, right? The last one. So that would be, oh no, I need to know which one I am. That's what it is. I need to know which one I am. So I have my ID, and I got this here for position. I wonder if I should return the index as well as this position object. Or let's just return the index. And we'll create the position object elsewhere. Yeah, let's just return the index. So hold on, this is going to be a lot easier in here. So once I get to here, if you're there, I want to return the index. If I just do an early return index, index. Oh, okay, an index, fine. We continue otherwise, and if we get oh no, we get down here, we return you, so then we're not getting this thing at all. So you're a little bit simpler. Okay, get position index, pass it that. So this is the position index. This is really the collector index, but okay. I've got the collector index here. I need to create the position. So let the position equals create the position object with I need to get the XY. And that's going to be name state dot initial collector positions of the collector index. That gives me that information. And then because I have the index now, we can do this. So we can check to see which one we are. So if we have all the collectors, let's help with this. If we don't have all the collectors, I want to just return okay. Things are okay, but we're not done yet. We're not ready for the next phase. If we do have all the collectors, let's continue. So we have a little bit of a gate here, a guard clause, as it were. Okay, so next up, I want to take, and it doesn't really matter what order I do these in because I don't know what order they're all running in. So if we're index 0, so if collector index is equal to 0, I could also match this. That might make sense too. Let's match it. Let's match collector index. So rest analyzer refuses to put like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, fine. So if we're 0, what do we want to do? We want to, position 0 is the one the closest to the creep. So if we have a bunch of energy inside of us, I want to take that and attempt to put it inside of the spawn. So I want to say creep dot is it transfer resource type energy to target would be the spawn, and the amount is a none because it's the full. What are you upset about? Oh, this is okay. I did it backwards. Okay. Transfer to the spawn, resource type energy, just everything you have. Okay. If you're 1, you're in the middle. That means I actually need to get the other creep. Okay. So that's I need to get the creep with the ID here, and then I can transfer to that. So now the transfer here says it's target T where size plus transferable, so it can't just be a game object, which is a little bit unfortunate. Now in utilities, I have I don't have get creep by ID. That would be really nice, but I don't have that. So let's see, what can I do with this? I need the next creep in line. I have the ID. I need all the other creeps. So I need all of my creeps, which is going to be a reference to a vector of creep. I need to search through these creeps, get the ID from them, and compare them together to find the next creep in line. So the next creep, so that next creep is equal to, let's make game state. I want the initial collector IDs of position. Now, we know that this is index 1, and so I want 0. I want position 0. And we know that these, we have them all, so I actually can safely unwrap at this point in time. That being said, I can always, just in case there's some weirdness, let's do an okay or. We can just say, don't really have all, like, okay, could not find first. Could not find first initial collector. Okay, and then we can question mark you. So now I have the next creep ID. I want to take that ID and actually turn it into a real creep. So I need to we could do a find. I wonder if I can do that really. Oh, I'm gonna need to do it twice. let me do it right here just to sort of like see how that's going to work. So it's going to be let next creep equals my creeps dot. Okay, we get an iter. We then do a find. We have a predicate, so we get a creep. If I do that, I don't care that I'm overriding this one because all I care about is the next creep ID. So on the creep, I'm going to need to do a get creep ID, pass it in creep.id, right? Or do I pass it in a creep? No, I pass it in the full creep. That's equal to next creep ID. Now that gives me an option. So I want an OK or. And this one is going to be could not find next creep in line. Okay, what are you upset about? You need to be unwrap or you need to be unwrap because I'm in a find here. I could do this if I did a try find maybe. But okay, so okay, or I can question mark you. I now have that creep. I want to do a creep dot transfer. Target is the next creep. Resource type, energy, all of it. Okay, and 2. You're the last one in line. We need to collect from a collector, so we need to get the collectors. So I should probably have the collectors passed into me here. So that this is going to be containers is a reference to a vec structure container. Okay, so what I want to do here, I want to grab the first container that has stuff in it. And actually every single frame I could be grabbing those. We can guarantee that these have stuff in them. So that should be fine. So let's grab the first. I could actually just have this be a reference to a structure container. That'll be fine. Structure container. All right, so we'll do creep dot withdraw from the container. So withdraw from the container. Type is going to be energy, and amount is going to be everything that I can. Then I want to do this exact same thing here where I find the transfer amount. And so if I want to do that twice, I should put this behind a function where I have to get the next creep ID, So transfer to next creep maybe. So I'm doing all of this stuff. All right, so we need game state. Are we mutating game state here? It does not look like it. So we need game state, but it can just be a reference to game state. Now, this index, so I want my index. Index is a usize. So you're the index there. Okay, error. So could not find initial collector. Next creep. So my creeps. Okay, so we need all my creeps. And you need to return a result. And we need myself. Creep. I think that's what we're looking for, is we figure out what the index we're going to is, and then we can transfer it to the next creep. So then inside of here, we're going to do transfer to next creep, pass into games, pass in just a reference, game state, index. All right, index is I'm passing to 0. All my creeps and myself, my creep. Same thing here. So, actually, no, wait. You are a multi-line. So first I withdraw, and then I transfer to next creep. So pass in a reference to game state. Index is now 1. My creeps, and then creep. You're returning this, so I can question mark you. Question mark you. I have 2 errors somewhere in the code base, but not right here. Oh, I'm running initial collectors, aren't I? So that's in the mod. You now need a couple more things. So all of my creeps. So a reference to my creeps. And then finally, what do you need? A container. So let's do let initial containers. Well, that's gonna be interesting. I don't know if I can verify that they are the initial containers or not. I think it will just be let containers equals get objects by prototype. Structure container. All right, so let's into iter. Let's filter this. Dot. We'll go into the store. Dot. All right, so things we can do here. We can grab get capacity, get free capacity. I think get used capacity is how much it has. Get free capacity. Which one is the one that has stuff in it? It's used capacity. I just forget which one. Returns the capacity used by the specified resource for a general purpose store. It returns total used capacity if resource is not defined. So if it's 0, it's empty. Okay. So, and then type is none. So if you are 0, opposite. If your is greater than 0, I want to keep you around. And then we'll collect you into a vec of structure container. I don't think that there's a I guess I could get the XY and like also filter them based upon that. It would always, their X would always be like 5 to the left or to the right of the others. But I don't know. This might be fine. Let's try it out and see what happens. Okay, so I get all the containers, and then I just want the first one of this container. So I want a reference to containers of 0. I mean, this will be fine up until that vector is empty, and then it will be very upset. We should definitely handle that. Oh, right. And now you're upset because what if we have literally anything else? If we have anything else here, we need to bail because collector index is not what we expected. Can I see what that is? Collector index. No errors. Okay. What's the chance that this just works? I'm going to let it do its thing, and we're going to watch the replay because that seems to have a much better chance of actually showing us what we want. All right, so everybody's going to get into position first, and then we're going to start transferring. I should probably reverse it around so the first one goes over here. That way it starts much faster. Well, okay. The transfer is happening. That is very slow. What we saw was a much faster transfer. It does seem to be working though. I see our this container is draining actually pretty fast. I think that was faster than we were doing before, but this could be faster. I want to say this might be able to happen in the same frame. I wonder if we can actually just make things faster by changing the order around. So what if we do -3? I guess that's always 2. -1. 1. 3 there. The rest of them, none. Okay, so that's all fine there. I just want to do the opposite here, right? So if you're 0, you're the closest to there, so you're actually 0, and you're actually 2. I wonder if that would just make it. I don't think that will make it go faster necessarily, but maybe it will. What I want to do is in the same tick, do all of them. And I think it's the order that I'm potentially hitting these on. But because of the first one comes here, this might now be the speed that I want it to be. Oh, this stopped. Okay, so hold on. Position 1, you're going to position 2 now. We do get into position faster now, so that's a good sign. Oh, this problem again. Okay, so still the same speed. It does make me wonder though. Can I do these as like fast as possible? So like, can I withdraw, transfer to the next creep, and like withdraw again? I mean, it's still decently fast. And now it's sitting here ready to go. I don't know. Like I feel like this might be good enough for like what we have right now, and we can always tweak it to make it that much faster if we can later. But okay, what I want to do, because it's 11 o'clock, I've run out of time for the other thing, but I think we're in a good state. So I want to take a little bit of time. I've been talking for a while and I didn't take a break, so I may want to just sort of like end a little bit early to sort of go and rest my voice for the rest of the day. But okay, here's what we got. We now have these guys doing their sort of withdrawal chain of them. The next phase is going to be the attackers. And so let's write down for next time so we don't forget what exactly we're trying to do. So in our mod, so we have a run initial collectors. I want to also, next will be to run the attackers. Actually, let's just put this at the top of the file. So next will be to run the attackers. This will be a series. Let's see. What are our attackers? So each attacker is really made of 2 units. One is a giant, I guess a giant creep with nothing but ranged attack. The other is a fast creep with nothing but move. The mover tows the shooter around, and they sort of act as a single unit then. So the mover tows the shooter around. We'll have to figure out how to organize our like movers and shooters the way we really want to. And then probably like attack all creeps, all enemy creeps. Then the enemy spawn. That's probably what I can imagine. After that, we could talk about healers. We can talk about collecting energy from the containers outside. I don't know. Like there's a bunch of different things that we could do. I don't remember if we can recycle the creeps in here. I didn't notice we can. That is something that you can do in the MMO game. I don't know if that's made its way into here. So in a creep, see here's pull, help another creep to follow this creep requires the move body part. Oh, so I'll just need a bunch of move. Oh, interesting. The creep must move elsewhere and the target must move towards the creep. So we'll have to figure out how to do this. I think there was another, there was move to, okay, that should be fairly simple then. Let's see. I think that's it. Is there anything else in here? So that in spawn and swamp, I don't see anything special. Yeah, I don't see anything special at this point in time. So that's going to be the plan. We're going to create 2 creeps as our attackers, 1 gigantic with just a ranged attack. So think of it like we have a big truck and the bed of the truck
is got its own engine. I guess it has to have a single move part in it, but the rest is just guns. Just like a big gun, and it shoots everything that's near it. The other creep is just engines, and it just really moves them fast through the swamp. So that is what we're going to be looking forward to doing next week, because there's no way we're going to be get that done today before noon. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a morning before then. So with that, Museum is streaming, but I don't know. We could raid Museum. We raided Museum last time. How many of you here are here for rest stuff? Because then we can raid for rest. Thank you, Lumicode. You know what, we'll just do a raid to Museum anyways. So Museum is a streamer. It also helps out a lot with a lot of Rust developers. He seems to be everywhere. Actually, don't know Museum's gender, so I shouldn't say he. You're here originally for Rust? Well then, perfect. We're Museum does a lot of Rust. Don't see what Museum is doing right now. I'm gonna go ahead and load that up over here, so that way I can also follow. But anyways, I hope that you have a great rest of your Sunday. I will be back here tomorrow morning to work on our web app, which is in Rust and U.RS. So with that, hope that you have a good day. I am going to go relax my throat. I'll see you next time. Bye.